The introduction of tariffs by the United States has been on the cards ever since Donald Trump began his presidential campaign. Now that he's in office, tariffs have taken center stage in global trade discussions. President Trump has rolled out a series of reciprocal tariffs affecting several countries, including India. On the day of the tariff announcement, markets went into a meltdown. A week since then, there was another announcement, a 90-day pause. This has added to the uncertainty and rattled markets around the world. What is the point of these tariffs? Trump's argument is fairly straightforward. He believes the global trade system is skewed where the US keeps tariffs low or even zero on imports, while many of its trading partners impose high duties on American goods. His goal? To level the playing field and fix what he sees as an unfair system. And that's exactly what we shall decode in today's episode. Welcome to Bottom Line by Grow. We're breaking down a big question. What's the real point of tariffs? Will they truly benefit the US economy just like the president claims? Or is there an ulterior motive behind these moves? Well, many critics have pushed back against Trump's justification for tariffs, arguing that his approach is fundamentally flawed and could have serious consequences for the US economy. Despite the criticism, Trump remains firm on his stance. This raises an important question. Is the global trading system truly taking advantage of the US as Trump claims? Or is there a larger, less visible strategy at play? Now, one theory gaining traction suggests that these moves are not just about trade. Some believe the real intent may be to create uncertainty in the markets enough to trigger a downturn. If that happens, the Federal Reserve might be forced to lower interest rates. And that could work in Trump administration's favor, making it easier to refinance nearly $7 trillion in US debt that's due for renewal in 2025. To put it into context, the US currently holds over $36 trillion in total debt. So to dig deeper into this, let's first take a look at the state of US debt. How much debt does the US have? As of early 2025, the US national debt stood at about $36.2 trillion, with $28.8 trillion held by the public and the remainder classified as intragovernmental debt. Foreign investors, including countries like Japan, China, and the UK, are some of the largest holders of US debt paper. It's interesting to note that China, the biggest exporter to the US and its biggest competitor, holds a massive amount of US debt. That's because the US doesn't restrict who buys its securities. Anyone can buy US debt. And so China invests in US debt because of the positive effect that these low-risk, stable investments can have on its own economy. That is, by investing in dollar-denominated securities, the value of the dollar increases relative to the value of China's currency, the yuan. This in turn makes Chinese goods cheaper and more attractive to US goods to buyers. That increases sales and strengthens China's economy. Like all debt securities, the US government's debt also has a maturity date. A significant portion of the US debt, around $7 trillion, is set to mature in 2025, requiring either repayment or refinancing. Much of this amount is in the form of short and medium-term treasury bills and floating rate notes issued in the past few years, especially during the COVID pandemic period, at extremely low interest rates. Comparatively, rates are higher now, and therefore, refinancing this amount will increase the cost of debt. So basically, all the debt securities issued come with an end date, the maturity date. But why is the US having trouble with this? Before we answer that, let's understand the US debt ceiling. The debt ceiling is the legal limit on the amount of debt that the US government can have outstanding. The US government has run a deficit averaging nearly $1 trillion every year since the year 2001. This means that it spends more money than it receives in taxes and other revenue. To make up the difference and continue to finance payments that Congress has already authorized, it has to borrow. The US hit this ceiling or limit of $36.1 trillion in January 2025. Now, the Congress is under pressure to raise or suspend that limit by August before the Treasury runs out of cash and other emergency options to keep the government running. If this is not addressed, it could result in the US defaulting on its debt payment obligations. That is nearly an unthinkable event, as it could batter the global economy in a big way. So the US debt of $36.1 trillion has to be renewed. Debt renewal is the process of refinancing or rolling over existing debt. The US government regularly issues new debt to finance its operations and pay off maturing debt. This process is ongoing and managed by the US Treasury Department. So how does the US national debt compare to other countries? In raw dollar terms, the US has the highest national debt globally, more than double of any other country. However, measured as a percentage of GDP, the US ranks 12th worldwide. Despite its massive debt burden, the US benefits from having the world's largest economy, which provides more capacity to manage its liabilities. What are the consequences of the US reaching its debt ceiling? Now, if the US breaches its debt ceiling without resolution, its risks are severe economic consequences. This include credit downgrade. Rating agencies could downgrade the US government bonds, and this will increase the borrowing costs for businesses and individuals. Economic recession. Goldman Sachs estimates that a breach could halt 10% of economic activity and result in job losses exceeding 3 million. Higher interest rate. Default, delayed payments, and further new debt could raise the interest rate significantly, adding billions to future debt servicing costs. Global financial instability. Another big risk is that the US is the cornerstone of global financial market, and a default by it could disrupt economies worldwide. In the past, how did the US refinance its debt? Historically, the US government has refinanced maturing debt by issuing new treasury securities at prevailing interest rates. During period of low interest rates, such as after the Great Recession or during COVID, the treasury was able to refinance large amounts of debt relatively inexpensively. The Federal Reserve also played a key role, purchasing government bonds with printed money to stabilize markets and manage inflation during crises. So what is different this time? The current refinancing challenge is exacerbated by higher interest rates compared to previous years. Much of the maturing debt was issued at rates of around 2%, but refinancing now requires rates closer to 5%, potentially adding $840 billion annually in interest costs. Additionally, foreign investors and central banks are shifting away from US treasuries toward alternative assets like gold or their own currencies. This reduces the demand for US bonds and complicates refinancing efforts. So how does Trump's tariff fit into all this? A theory has emerged suggesting that President Donald Trump is intentionally destabilizing financial markets to lower borrowing costs for refinancing the federal debt. Let me explain this in detail. This is an old idea from one of Trump's top advisors, a plan nicknamed Mar-a-Lago Accord, aimed at weakening the US dollar and restructuring global economy. Here's the plan. Get America's trading partners to agree to work with a weaker US dollar and lower interest rates on US government debt. That would make it cheaper for businesses to borrow money and invest in American manufacturing. This plan has two major components. Other countries would have to swap their short-term US bonds for very long-term ones like 100-year bonds. If they refuse, the US could hit them back with tariffs or even scale back the security support. The US would charge a fee to countries that hold lots of US dollar reserves. If the dollar doesn't weaken like the US wants it to, that fee could go up. Right now, the US dollar is strong. For US consumers, a strong US dollar makes imports cheaper compared to US goods manufactured in the US. However, a strong dollar makes US-made goods uncompetitive in the global markets. And that goes against Trump's administration's aim of balancing the trade deficits with its trading partners and strengthening its domestic manufacturing. That would not help bring factory jobs back to the US and fix imbalances. So will this plan work? It's risky. The dollar is a key part of the global economy. Messing with it too much could scare off investors and raise long-term interest rates, which is the opposite of what the plan is trying to do. Plus, other countries probably won't agree to weaken the dollar the way they did in the 1980s. Proponents of this plan say Trump's hawkish tariffs could result in a recession and force the US Fed to lower interest rates. When interest rates fall, refinancing the $7 trillion debt in 2025 will become that much easier for the US government. Remember, the US doesn't need to pay off its entire $36 trillion debt at once. Only the debt that matures in a given year, in this case $7 trillion in 2025, needs to be paid off or rolled over. The rest will be dealt with in the years that they mature. However, the administration faced its first roadblock in this plan to refinance the $7 trillion when yields shot up sharply in the recent weeks. Why did this happen? This happened due to two events: safe haven unwinding and inflation expectations. Let me explain. Safe haven unwinding is when the stock market falls during times of uncertainty, like at the announcement of the tariffs. Investors typically move to the safety of US Treasury bonds, pushing the bond prices up and the yields down. At first, this is what happened. But given the policy and the economic uncertainties in the US, investors began to sell off their bonds to reinvest them in other assets. This drove bond prices down and yields up. Now, inflation expectations. Rising yields often reflect expectations of higher inflation. If investors believe that the Federal Reserve will respond to increased tariffs by raising interest rates to combat potential inflation, this can also lead to higher yields. On April 4th, Trump, through a post on his social media platform, Truth Social, urged Powell to reduce rates, calling it the perfect time to do so, and criticized Powell for being late in doing so. Trump highlighted positive indicators such as falling energy and egg prices, lower inflation, and rising employment as the reasons to cut rates. He accused Powell of playing politics and not cutting rates. However, Trump's critics say that such a line of action risks triggering inflation and recession, which could wipe away any benefits from reduced borrowing costs. While the Treasury yields have indeed fallen, especially after Trump took office, analysts caution that less disruptive measures such as fiscal discipline could be a more sustainable approach to managing national debt. That said, while these moves may sound like conspiracy theories, Trump hasn't shied away from the market crash. He's embraced it, framing it as a part of the broader strategy to rebuild the US economy. Whatever the reason, these developments have turned the spotlight on the bond markets, highlighting their role in global economic shifts. Once considered immune to such volatility, the US is now experiencing the kind of financial turbulence more common in emerging markets, signaling a possible transition away from American economic dominance. So, what do you think? Can this be true? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. For more insights, subscribe to Bottom Line by Grow.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing. Please read the risk disclosure documents carefully before investing in equity shares, derivatives, mutual fund, and/or other instruments traded on the stock exchanges.